I also need to add one more banner. Wait, so if I put this, no, okay, it handles that for us. Nice. Actually, yeah. All right, let's get this link shared. And there it is for Discord. All right, we can get this thing going now. What is up, everybody? After a great Thursday night football, now we're looking ahead to week 3. We're going to go over the main slate, so hope you guys enjoy the show. And then we will have the intro roll in. And let me change the banner. All right, so for those of you guys who can't tell yet, as always, we got JJ here with me, and right below me, we got Alex Caruso. For those of you guys who don't know him, huge in the fantasy football space, getting into the prop betting space, and he's on a nice little 17-2 run, so we're glad to have him on. We're going to start off by going over last night's Thursday night game between the Giants and the 49ers, and if you tuned into the show yesterday, you probably made some good money because it felt like everything that me and JJ were talking about was spot on. So first off, we talked about how the 49ers are good against tight ends in the slot, and even though Waller probably had some passes he should have caught, he did struggle in the box score. So I know a lot of guys want to take that as a popular pick with Saquon being out, so hopefully we helped you save some coin there. And then since it's a primetime game, we talked about how those primetime games tend to go under a lot, but we also expected the Niners to dominate, and of course that happened. The pace was really slow. It was dominated by the 49ers, just running the clock out. Again, as expected with Aiyuk being out, which is another possibility we talked about. And then lastly, we expected a lot of Daniel Jones usage. They didn't run the ball that much, and even on those short 3-and-out drives, they were all Daniel Jones drives. So it was good to see all that come together just the way we expected. We saw the Niners pass a little bit more than expected, but it was all screen plays, extended run game for the most part. So I wouldn't exactly call that a loss on our end in terms of a read. But if you took Brock Purdy under completions, then you kind of got cooked there. But the read was there. That's the important thing. So that's Thursday Night Football. Not much new information to talk about there unless either you guys saw anything.
Running screenplays on like 3rd and 8+ is kind of ridiculous, but it worked for them. They ran that multiple times.
That Giants secondary outside of Adoree Jackson is bad, man. They cannot tackle.
Nope. And they can't get pressure on the quarterback really either.
No.
Because I'm sure you guys saw the Brock Purdy stats when pressured. He was cooking them.
Yeah. I mean, they couldn't
see
cover
anything, Alex?
They couldn't cover a mailbox last night, the Giants. I mean, every week it's been the same story. It doesn't matter whether they're playing San Francisco or they're playing Arizona. The defense looks exactly the same against every single offense, which is probably the biggest thing that's scary is there wasn't just a good 49ers offense. It's like the Cardinals put up like the same points that the Niners did.
Yeah.
That's what sucks is you can't even say, oh, they just had a tough start like some other teams in terms of their schedule. It's like, no, they were down 20-0 versus the Cardinals. Like, that's very concerning for a Giants fan, especially with – I know for whatever reason there was a lot of hype for them going into this season, like through the offseason. And outside of a Darren Waller edition where I don't think any tight end edition makes that much of a difference, I didn't see that much encouraging information compared to what we saw last year to begin with.
Yep.
All right, let's move into the Sunday slate. So we're going to be previewing some games. First off, we're going to talk Cleveland and Tennessee. And, I mean, it's do or die at this point for Deshaun. He's had 8 games under his belt, so there shouldn't be any more rust. He's had a full off season, and he's looked really bad the first 2 weeks. If there's any game where he's going to get right, it's going to be this Tennessee game. Tennessee secondary is awful. Their run defense is good. There's no longer Nick Chubb there to carry that offense. So it's really just all the weight's on Deshaun, and he has a great matchup. If he can't get it done this week, they're in trouble.
Yeah, and his receivers aren't doing that bad, but every time he throws to the sideline on towards like Elijah Moore, like I don't know if you guys saw him Monday night, but he always had to try to toe tap his way just to try to get the ball, and he was just very inaccurate. I think he was probably one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks so far this season.
I mean,
I think you sent a chart basically saying like his performance and expected passing downs is like the worst in the NFL.
Yeah,
it's been really bad. I think this is the most get right spot they have. I mean, especially what Tennessee's front 7 did to Jamal Williams, Joshua Kelly. Probably going to do the same thing to Jerome Ford this week. I think the way that they get beat is to the passing attack. Obviously, they gave up 330 yards to the Saints and Derek Carr. They just gave up 290 to Justin Herbert and the Chargers. So I think the way that Cleveland wins this game is definitely through the air. So I think that I am not confident in Deshaun Watson at all for this season, but I think that this is going to be his only like really big week. And then I'm looking to sell high if I have him and probably not play him on a prop for the rest of the year and just hammer his unders next week.
Yeah, because these next 2 weeks, he has Baltimore and San Francisco. So he needs to show some life right here or it's about to be ugly.
If he doesn't rebound, like what do you do if you're the Browns? Like you paid too much.
There's nothing you can do. You have to play him. You paid him, you play him.
That's so tough. Like you could not have a worse circumstance as a fan because it's like I guarantee most fans didn't want a move like that under those circumstances. And then to just have him shit the bed as much as he is like a nice little double whammy. And it's like, that sucks.
I mean, to be fair,
so if you're a Browns fan,
they're used to disappointment. Yeah. So,
I'm a Lions fan. I got to show some sympathy. I've been through it a little too long. But a nice piece of information. The Titans mainly run cover 1 and cover 4. Look at Deshaun Watson versus cover 1 and cover 4. Only 85 dropback or snaps, but a nice 51.4 pass completion percentage. That's not good at all. 5.8 yards per attempt is also extremely low. So as far as get right games versus bad defenses, that coverage is not one that he loves to see. But at this point, I don't know that there is a coverage that he's great against. So there's also that. We can move on to the next game unless you guys have any other information you want to share regarding that.
I don't care about the Titans really, so I mean, there's not much to look at for them.
Yeah, I think D-Hop should be playing. Somehow he had a concussion and then played back in practice on Wednesday. Don't understand how that happened, but he should be good to go. Honestly, the only thing I'd expect is we saw in week 1 how Ryan Tannehill was kind of blindly targeting DeAndre Hopkins whenever he was under pressure. And the Browns are probably going to be getting a lot of pressure to him. So expect a lot of DeAndre Hopkins targets. I don't know how many of them are going to be catchable, but if he's in double coverage and Ryan Tannehill's getting pressure, he's probably still chucking it up to him. So that's something to keep an eye out for. And then the Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt dilemma. I know that's been huge in the fantasy football space. So I'll let you take that one, Alex. What's your read there?
Yeah, I mean, they said Kevin Stefanski, historically, as far as coach speak goes, has been pretty accurate and pretty honest and truthful as opposed to some other coaches. But as far as that goes, they said they want Jerome Ford to get a chance to be the feature back for this team. I mean, Kareem Hunt's efficiency dropped like off the face of the earth in every metric last year. I think that he could step in, but I think at worst, we're probably going to see about 60% of the work for Jerome Ford as long as he's playing decently. He's shown really good things and limited signs. I mean, Nick Chubb hyped him up endlessly all offseason about just how great Jerome Ford could be as a secondary option. And I think that, again, they're going to give him a chance to be the main guy. And after 2 or 3 games, if he's not, then we're not going to see much. But I think that he is more likely than not going to be the main guy, getting about 60% of the work for the full year.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm glad to because I think coming out of college, he was better than people remember him, and then people were just expecting him not to get a shot. So for him to get a shot now, as much as the circumstances for him getting that chance suck, it's good to see that they're giving him a chance, even though they're bringing back Kareem Hunt.
Agree.
But now we move on to my Lions versus the Falcons. And I told JJ this yesterday, but I'm not sure if it was recorded. As a Lions fan, I'm absolutely terrified of what Bijan Robinson is about to do to us. Especially because it looks like our interior defensive line is healthy, which means that the run game should be more limited than people expect. Bijan and Algier are probably not going to get as much in between the tackles as they've been getting. But on the flip side of that, that means more screen passes and dump offs to Bijan. And now CJ Gardner-Johnson's out, which is somebody who's been nipping the screen pass in the bud and been super aggressive at the line. So with him out and the interior defensive line being strong, I wouldn't be surprised if we see another big Bijan receiving game.
Yeah, and it was funny because last week in the group chat, I was talking to you guys, and it's like, is this 17.5 line too low?
It was
of course
plus
he goes
money at
4 for
17.5
48
receiving yards. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see another 5 for like 35 or 40 from him. He's that good, and the Lions, I don't know if we can expect much out of them outside of that front four. I know Jack Campbell's a really good coverage linebacker, but I think that's more like in between the hashes covering tight ends. I don't know how much of that is covering the running back out of the backfield.
Well, Jack Campbell last week only saw about 25% of the snaps, so it's still going to be – it's not like I think he is their best coverage linebacker for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that he's not yet going to see the full complement of snaps that's really going to threaten Bijan. I think beyond that, right now, Bijan leads the NFL for running backs in target share by like 5%. He's seeing a 22% target share, which would be ridiculous than any other team except the Falcons, because the Falcons are passing 25 times per game. But either way, he's seeing top 5 usage. And what we've seen from this Lions team is historically, like every team that's played against them runs a lot more plays than they're used to. It's a fast-paced team. They put other teams in fast-paced situations. So I think the Falcons are going to run a lot more plays than we normally see from them, which is going to be really beneficial for someone like Bijan, who's seeing like top 3 passing work at the position right now.
So it's really just Bijan versus Detroit at this point. That's kind of the vibe we're getting from all this.
Pretty much.
I'm curious to see if maybe because of Kyle Pitts, Jack Campbell gets more work. That's the only thing I can imagine. But if that's the case, then he's not going to be on Bijan anyway. So I don't know if that matters.
Yep.
Maybe he already has the idea that Arthur Smith hates Kyle Pitts. So, you never know.
You're not
Don't even worry about him. Don't even game plan for him.
Alex, did you see all the clips from week 1 where Kyle Pitts was open on like 6 consecutive routes and Desmond Ridder just wasn't even looking in this direction?
It's every week. They like him. I don't know what Kyle Pitts says to Desmond Ridder in the locker room, but it cannot be good.
Oh God, dude. I couldn't imagine being that good and that open all the time and your quarterback doesn't even look your way. That'd be so frustrating.
It's almost like DJ Moore.
Really?
DJ Moore got work last week.
Did you hear that little audio clip talking about he's not getting used correctly?
No.
Yeah.
Must have missed that. Was that this week?
It was at the end of the game. I think he was talking to one of the linebackers, and the linebacker was telling him they're not using you correctly over there. And he's like, yeah, tell me about it.
Wow.
Oh, my God, dude. And then what Justin Fields was saying after the game, it's not looking good in Chicago, man. There were some people that actually believe that Chicago was going to win that division, which is so funny to me.
Yeah.
On the Lions side, sorry, I was trying to think of how we got to Chicago. On the Lions side, David Montgomery's out. Josh Reynolds and Amon-Ra St. Brown limited participants in practice. Both of them should play. But to JJ's credit, he showed me a tweet that I don't remember who it was from, basically outlining that Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't do that well versus too high safety coverage, and that's what Atlanta runs a lot of. So considering how well Goff does at home and Montgomery being out, I'm expecting a huge Jahmyr Gibbs game. Like, this is the game where everybody that overdrafted him in like the second round in fantasy football, all that's going to pay off this week. I expect him to have another 9+ target game, 9+ rushes at least. I think this could be huge for him.
Yeah, so that tweet was from Football Insights. They said single high 62% of routes this season with 34% target per route run and 4.4 yards per route run with a 42% first read target share, but versus too high on 33% of his routes, 11% target per route run, and then 26 yards per route run with a 13% first read target share.
Wow.
You say 26 yards per route run?
Or they got a 0.26. That's why I was trying to convert in my head, but early morning, West Coast.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, I think it's
No,
I think it's
I
crazy.
think-
But beyond that, I mean, a lot of the football fantasy people, doctors, we're talking about that Amon-Ra St. Brown's dealing with a turf toe injury. He's going to play through it, but for the next 2 or 3 weeks, he's going to see about a 20% performance dip just because he has to play with a steel plate in his a steel plate in his shoe, and it's going to be a little bit harder for him to push off. So when you talk about the fact that they're playing this too high coverage plus the performance dip, I think that this is definitely even more of a reason to be targeting, Jahmyr Gibbs and some other players in this passing attack. Maybe Sam Laporta. I mean, after what the Falcons have done against tight ends so far.
I picked him up in fantasy
Sam
this week.
Laporta has been quietly good. Sam Laporta has been good. Like, I know he was drafted high and people were expecting him to do well as a rookie tight end, but rookie tight ends don't normally do this well, I feel like. I've been pleasantly surprised.
Well, it gets crazier than that. I mean, in the last 23 years, there have been just 2 tight ends outside of round 1 to be top 12 fantasy tight ends as a rookie. 2 in 23 years. It's one every 11 and a half years, and Sam Laporta is on pace to do it this year.
Love to see
I think he got the most week 1 targets for rookie tight end since T.J. Hockenson was drafted, 11th by the Lions in the first round?
Yep.
So it's good to see. I feel like people have not been talking about him as much as they should just because he's not doing any flashy plays or anything. He's just there doing, like, the Lions are using him like he's a veteran tight end.
Exactly.
So it's been refreshing to see. All right. I think we can move on to the next game. We got Green Bay and New Orleans. I think from what I'm seeing, Jordan Love is due for some regression, and against the Saints defense, who's pleasantly surprised me so far through 2 weeks this season, I think it could come this weekend. Granted, those 2 games came versus the Titans and the Panthers, so I don't want to put too much weight on it, but even then, I expected them to give up a lot more than they ended up giving up versus those 2 teams.
Yeah, like not giving up a touchdown yet this season is pretty impressive no matter who you're playing.
100%. And I think Jordan Love's touchdown percentage is like 11%, which is like, I think Lamar Jackson's MVP season, he used at like 9%, and that was considered absolutely ridiculous percentage. So for that to be at 11% with the weapons that he has not being absolutely world-breaking, I don't think there's no chance that can last.
It's the same thing with Drake London and Kyle Pitts, where like their teams, they've thrown 25 and 27 pass attempts, and none of their receivers are like over 70% row participation. So like that means that like they don't even have a guy that's on the field that is like consistently dominating and like playing the full complement of snaps, and they're also passing the ball at one of the lowest rates in the league, which are just 2 things that do not correlate really well for quarterback production.
Yeah.
And
looking at the Saints side, you got Kendra Miller, who should be doing everything on Sunday. Alvin Kamara doesn't come back until next week. All he has to worry about is Tony Jones, who, nobody's worried about him.
I think that still left a long time ago. But dude, what is there not to like on the Saints side, man? Michael Thomas, Shaheed, Olave, Kendra Miller, like there's no skill position that I feel like you want to avoid in your props or your fantasy lineups.
Did they play it all last year? Like this
Green
matchup?
Bay and the Saints? Let me check. I don't think they did. No, they didn't. The last time they played was September 2021, and the Saints won 38-3.
Okay.
But obviously, pretty much everything about these two teams have changed. Jordan Love actually got snaps in this game because they lost by so much. He went 5 for 7 for 68 yards.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I'm probably backing the Saints in this one if I'm being honest. They play a lot of cover one. We can check how Jordan Love has been doing versus cover one, but it's probably going to be a small sample size. And then the Packers play a lot of cover three. So I'd say target your New Orleans, what's it called? Wide receivers. Jay Alexander's going to be, Jay Alexander's going to be on Olave. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for Michael Thomas and Rashid Shaheed. You guys know we love our Rashid Shaheed props, so we'll keep an eye out for those. If Michael Thomas somehow opens up at 4.0 again, which I doubt he will for receptions, I'm definitely leading Shaheed, or I'm definitely leading Michael Thomas. But if he opens up at like 4.5 or 5, I know Shaheed's at 40 yards right now. I think it's not ridiculous to be taking Shaheed over him.
Completely agree.
Jordan Love doesn't even have 50 snaps versus cover one. So, yeah, the sample size is going to be a little too small for it to be reliable, but 47% pass completion on 8 for 17 passes for Jordan Love against cover one. So that's, again, super small sample size, but take that as you will. We can check, or that's versus, cover one. And then we can check Derek Carr versus cover three, because that's what the Packers play a lot of. But to Derek Carr's credit, he's been doing much better than his prior year stats have shown versus these coverages. I think in both of week 1 and week 2, we were expecting him to do a lot worse given his completion percentage versus the coverages, 60% here versus cover 3. But he ended up having good games in both games. So I wouldn't put too much weight on that 60% pass completion. But, dude, what's the latest on Aaron Jones' health? I forgot to check that before the show.
He has been practicing limited, so more likely than not, he's going to be playing this week. It's pretty widely expected that since he already returned back to practice, that he should be playing as long as he practices on Friday as well.
And then I'm expecting Christian Watson to probably not play. I haven't seen too much, but it sounds like he downgraded a little bit because he went from practice on Wednesday to DNP on Thursday, I believe.
So they actually just reported on that this morning that this practice yesterday was actually maintenance related, and I guess as part of his return to play that they're going to be giving him like either Thursdays off or more maintenance days, but it wasn't in a setback. So he's actually in a better spot from what they said, and it seems like somehow, I don't know how, I'm with you, like late play this week after not practicing yesterday, which makes no sense to me. But
today will be telling.
Yeah.
All right, let's start speeding this up. The rest of the games aren't as interesting, but I just realized I had the wrong banner up for that one. But all right, Broncos game. We got predicted Javonte Williams breakout against who are they playing against?
Dolphins.
Javonte Williams breakout against the Dolphins. I don't hate that. I think we saw the Chargers, who is the team that doesn't normally run that much, run all over the Broncos. And then the Patriots just aren't that great of an offense as a whole. And they didn't have a good or a great game, I think, versus them. But I think if the Broncos want to lean on Javonte Williams, especially after Russell Wilson's stats last week were a bit deceiving if you look at the box score, I think it's in their best interest.
And Alex, you had some great insight on Javonte, right?
Oh, yeah. I think that at the 33rd team, we have a colleague named Jordan Vanek. I host a show with him where he takes his 5
genius
DFS breakouts every week. He literally plays professional DFS, doesn't need to work for the 33rd team because he makes so much money. Javonte, of all running backs on the DFS slate, was his number 1 play this week. He's really confident in him. When he says something, you got to believe it. I think this is going to be a big week for Javonte against his easiest matchup that he's faced so far. Now that we're getting into weeks 3 and 4 is where we're supposed to see more of an uptick in terms of how healthy his knee is going to look coming off that ACL.
Love it. And for anybody who doesn't follow Jordan Bannock, go ahead and look him up on Twitter. Honestly, one of the smartest guys you'll find on Twitter. Deserves way more followers than he has. Outside of that, don't think I'm playing any Russell Wilson or Broncos receivers props all season. On the Miami side, I mean, you just got to expect Waddle and Tyreek to go crazy every week. If they don't, then, oh, well, you bite the bullet. But, I mean, I think that they've earned that respect at this point, and they're just mismatched nightmares for anybody on the defense. If Surtain shadows Tyreek Hill, 1, Tyreek probably burns him anyways, and 2, even if he doesn't, you got Jalen Waddle on the other side, and he's going to do just fine himself.
Well, is Jalen Waddle playing? He's still in concussion protocol, right?
Yeah, he's if he doesn't practice, well, obviously if he doesn't practice today, he's not going to play. But the way that the concussion protocol works is he has to get through like a certain amount of days of actual football-related work, and he hasn't hit that. So from the people that I talked to, he's like 95% chance that he's out this week. There's almost no chance he plays.
Yeah, because I think you would have to practice by like yesterday or today. Yeah. Usually anyone that tries to do it on Saturday never plays. So,
yep.
That makes things a little bit more interesting. So, in that case, we'll probably address it a little bit tomorrow, even though it's a 1 p.m. game that we're planning to talk about all those now. There's going to be some news to talk about tomorrow regarding that game. Next up, a lot of people's most exciting game of the week, Chargers-Vikings. I mean, just expect a shootout. I think one thing I did notice when I was researching this game is with Eckler playing, it seems to be Keenan Allen dominating the wide receiver share more. When Eckler's out, it seems to lean Mike Williams, so that's something to keep an eye on. I haven't seen the latest news on that yet either, but honestly, both secondaries are bad. I'm just expecting both Kirk Cousins and Justin Herbert to throw for 300 each. Honestly, it's worth a little sprinkle and a parlay for that as well. I might be doing that.
Austin Eckler said on his own podcast on Tuesday that he can't even run. So it sounded like that he was kind of hinting that it's probably not going to be playing. He said he couldn't even run on Tuesday. So finding a way to suit up like 3 or 4 days later after not being able to run would be pretty impressive. All signs really point to him being out by this point.
Yeah, you'd have to get drug tested after that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so in that case, it's either Herbert or Mike Williams from that game. On the Viking side, I think all the props are juiced just because now everybody saw in primetime how bad and inefficient Madison in that running game is. So I think Kirk's 290 yards, Jefferson's 100 yards, or Addison is like 50 yards or something. The Addison one I could be wrong on, but I know they're all like, all right, we expected them to be high, and they're actually really high. So there's not really much value in their betting lines. But for fantasy, go ahead and target them.
Yep.
Patriots versus the Jets. I mean, don't expect anything from the Jets anymore. Zach Wilson does not look good. As much criticism that Bill Belichick gets, this is his first 0-2 start since 2001. I don't expect it to be 0-3, and I don't think Zach Wilson is going to be the one to make Belichick look bad. So I don't know that there's much else to share in that regard.
Yeah, there's.
Mac Jones might struggle against that Jets secondary just because, as we talked about last week, he's physically incapable of completing a pass past 20 yards. So expect a lot of crossers. Otherwise, the Patriots, it's going to be a very low-scoring game.
Yep.
Buffalo and Washington, there's supposed to be some potential weather issues, but it was good to see the Josh Allen that we know and love last game. Sam Howell's also looked surprisingly good. Don't be surprised if we get a Jahan Dotson breakout game soon. For those who read Matt Harmon's breakdown, Jahan Dotson has been getting open. He's been super successful. It's just a matter of him connecting with Sam Howell, but that'll come. Sam Howell, this is his first year actually being a quarterback. As long as the receivers are getting open and doing their job, it's only a matter of time before things start connecting. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to share there.
I'm just very surprised how well that Washington offense has been ran.
Yep, agree. And
Me too, man.
regardless of Dotson like not getting the targets or the volume, they're actually one of the like teams that are higher in pass rate over expected. They're at like 5% pass rate over expected given game script right now, which I think is like a top 10 number in the league right now. So they actually are passing a little bit more. It doesn't mean the volume is there, but I think that is going to come. If he's getting open, they're passing a lot more than expected. I think outside of them just being a really slow paced team, like it's actually been pretty good from what we've seen, and hopefully it's just a matter of time.
Definitely.
I'm actually very excited to watch that game because I think it's going to be two efficient passing offense with good passing volume. If that weather can hold up, that's going to be the big key thing. So I wouldn't block in any props until we get a better view on what the weather's going to be. But if it clears up, pull the trigger on any props you like from that game. We got two more games. Jacksonville obviously put up a shitter against the Chiefs, only scored 9 points. Travis Etienne, bad rushing game. Ridley was absent for the most part. But against Houston with no Derek Stingley, I really like this bounce back spot for him. I think Houston's not going to get blown out as much as people think. But I think their secondary is decent. I think their defensive line is decent. But that Jacksonville team has too much skill around there. They need a bounce back game. This is the perfect spot.
Yeah, and then the Texans don't run a lot of man coverage, so that's perfect for Calvin Ridley because Christian Kirk always thrives in man coverage. That's why his matchup was so good last week. Yep. And I think now it'd be back to Calvin Ridley again.
Especially when he's playing a lot in the slot, and the Texans have one of the best slot corners in the league.
Yeah.
So, Calvin Ridley dominance, part 2. I'm probably laddering him again, honestly.
I don't mind that at all.
And I don't think Jacksonville is good enough where we can say, oh, they're going to go up by 3 touchdowns and run the clock out. Like, I think they're better than the Texans, but I think it's going to stay within 2 scores for the most part.
Yeah.
It's going to be very similar to the Week 1 game versus the Colts, I think.
And I'm very surprised how much the Texans are throwing the ball.
CJ Stroud has impressed me. I was low on him coming in. He hasn't done anything crazy, but I was expecting him to shit the bed for the start of the season. So I've been pleasantly surprised there. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Robert Woods, they're all doing their thing. Dameon Pierce has been really good. He's suffered from a very weak offensive line, but Dameon Pierce doing his job has actually been very good. If you look at some of the advanced stats, it'll show you that as well. So I think there's a lot of promise for the Texans. I don't know if we'll see it come together this season, but just the fact that it's there, I think they have the potential to upset any team any given week if it just clicks for 1 week.
Nope.
Lastly, Indiana versus Baltimore.
Another
Lamar's
weather concern.
Dominate. Yeah, but assuming the weather holds up, because that's all we can kind of predict right now, expect more Lamar dominance. Zay Flowers has been doing his thing as a rookie. He did really well last game once Odell Beckham Jr. went down, but to my knowledge, is OBJ playing this week?
I have no clue, to be honest.
No, he hasn't practiced yet.
He isn't?
Okay.
Oh, okay. So wherever I got my report was wrong then. But so if Odell's out again, then expect another Zay Flowers really good game. Mark Andrews back in the mix. Did well last week. No J.K. Dobbins means they're probably going to continue leaning on the passing game. It looks like in terms of the running back share between Justice Hill and Gus Edwards, they're splitting the snap share damn near 50-50, but Justice Hill is getting all the passing work and third down work.
So we don't have to worry about that this week.
What do you mean?
It looks like you need an update on your injury report.
God dang it, dude.
Justice Hill, it looks like he's going to be out.
Oh, toe injury. All right, Gus Edwards season. I looked at everything before the show besides the injury report. I'm working on it. I'll be ready for tomorrow. But Indiana runs a lot of cover 3, which should favor the wide receivers as well. So, again, if with Justice Hill and Dobbins out, actually, now that I think about it, I did know Justice Hill was going to be out. I just forgot about it now because they activated Kenyon Drake, I'm pretty sure.
Immediately.
Yeah. So Zay Flowers could be in for a good game. I think, Alex, you talked about that before the show a little bit.
Yeah, he's got a great matchup against the Indianapolis outside corners that have been absolutely horrendous, or more so any corners they have. They're a little bit better defending tight ends, so that the Zay Flowers is going to have a huge blow-up week and just going to completely have his way against this team.
I love it. Net cover 3, it favors wide receivers over other positions.
Yep.
So I'm completely with it. Depleted running back core, Odell out, covers that favors wide receivers. Lamar and Zay Flowers should connect on a few really good ones. But that is all the 1 p.m. games, if I'm not mistaken. Alex, thank you for joining us again. JJ, as always, thank you for jumping on. We'll have the rest of the slate covered tomorrow, and hopefully you guys enjoy the show. Good luck this weekend on your props. Good luck in your fantasy matchups, and hopefully you guys tune in later. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow all of us on Twitter, and good luck.